HIEVR Yomen. There are three letters that seem simple, yet within them lies a timeless wisdom, etc. Most people think it simply means, and the rest. But in truth, these letters whisper a deeper message. Everything takes change. Look around you. The mountains rise, the rivers flow, the clouds move across the sky, and the seasons come and go. Nothing stands still. Even the stillness you feel in this moment is quietly changing. You are not the same person you were yesterday, and you will not be the same tomorrow. This truth is the heart of all growth. Everything takes change. This is not merely a phrase, but a principle that governs all life. Nothing in this universe remains the same, not even for a single moment. The breath you take in becomes the breath you release. The sunrise you witness fades into night. The joy you feel today may transform into sorrow tomorrow, and the sorrow of today may blossom into wisdom in the days ahead. Life is a dance of transformation. The sooner one understands this, the smoother the flow of existence becomes. When people suffer, it is rarely because of what is happening around them. It is because they wish for things to stay the same when life is asking them to evolve. The pain comes not from change itself, but from resistance to it. We want the comfort of stability, the predictability of control, but both are illusions. The truth is, everything around you, including you, is constantly changing. Cells in your body, thoughts in your mind, emotions in your heart. Yet we cling to identities, relationships, achievements, and beliefs as though they are permanent. This clinging becomes the root of frustration, because you are trying to stop a river from flowing. The first step to understanding the principle that everything takes change is acceptance. Acceptance does not mean passivity or weakness. It means clarity. When you accept that change is inevitable, you stop wasting energy on denial. You begin to move with life, not against it. Like a tree that bends with the wind, but does not break. You learn to adapt without losing your roots. Change is not your enemy. It is your greatest teacher. It strips away what is no longer needed and forces you to grow into what you were always meant to become. Think about nature. The seed does not resist its transformation into a sprout. The caterpillar does not complain before it becomes a butterfly. The ocean never refuses the tides, so why do humans resist their own evolution? Because of fear. Fear of losing what they know. Fear of stepping into the unknown. Fear of being uncomfortable. But what we call fear is often just the voice of growth whispering, "It's time to move forward." Every great transformation begins with uncertainty. When you walk into change with courage rather than fear, you discover that what you lose was never truly yours, and what you gain is what you always needed. There is also an important truth hidden within the phrase, "Everything takes change." The word takes reminds us that transformation is not always gentle. Sometimes life demands change from you. It takes your comfort, your plans, even your illusions. But these moments are not punishments. They are awakenings. Life takes away what limits you so that it can give you what frees you. When relationships end, jobs shift, or dreams collapse, you are being invited to shed an old skin that no longer fits your spirit. Only by letting go can you create space for something new to arrive. Consider the times you have grown the most. They were not when everything was easy and stable. They were the moments when life challenged you, when you had to adapt, when the familiar dissolved. In those moments, the universe was showing you the truth. Without change, there is no progress. Without change, there is no renewal. Even still water turns stagnant if it does not move. The same is true for the human spirit. Stagnation brings decay, change brings life. But to truly embody this truth, you must train your mind to see change not as loss, but as transformation. Every ending carries the seed of a beginning. The person you were 5 years ago is gone, but in their place stands someone wiser, stronger, and more aware. You have outgrown versions of yourself that once defined you. You have healed from experiences that once hurt you. That is the power of change. It rebuilds you quietly, piece by piece, while you are still learning to trust it. When life begins to shift, do not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" This question changes everything. Suddenly, you are no longer a victim of change. You become a student of it. You start to notice patterns, how each challenge sharpens your character, how each loss expands your heart, how each disappointment strengthens your wisdom. You begin to see that the universe never removes something from your path without preparing you for what comes next. The art of living lies in moving gracefully through change. To do that, cultivate stillness within. Because when the outer world changes rapidly, only an inner calm can keep you balanced. Sit with yourself, breathe deeply, and remind yourself that you are not the storm. You are the sky behind it. Change may move through you, but it cannot destroy the essence of who you are. The body ages, the roles shift, the circumstances evolve, but the awareness behind it all remains untouched. That awareness is eternal. Eventually, you realize that life is not about holding on. It's about harmonizing with the flow. You stop asking for things to stay the same, because sameness would mean stagnation. Instead, you begin to appreciate the beauty of impermanence. You find peace not by freezing time, but by flowing with it. When you embrace that everything takes change, you stop fearing endings, for you know they are merely beginnings in disguise. You stop clinging to the past, for you trust that what is coming carries a deeper wisdom than what has gone. Everything takes change, your body, your mind, your destiny. Every sunrise is new, every breath is different, every heartbeat a reminder that life is movement. To resist it is to suffer, to flow with it is to awaken. So open your heart to transformation. Welcome each moment as a messenger guiding you forward. Because the truth is simple yet profound, nothing remains, everything evolves, and that is what makes life both fragile and magnificent. Energy transforms continuously. This is a truth that underlies every breath, every thought, and every heartbeat. Everything in existence is energy, and energy is never lost. It only changes its form. The air you breathe, the food you eat, the thoughts you think, and the emotions you feel, all are movements of energy. The universe is an endless flow of transformation. The same force that burns in the stars flows through your veins. To understand this is to understand that you are not separate from life. You are part of a continuous exchange between creation and transformation. Most people live unaware of this truth. They see emotions as random, moods as uncontrollable, and thoughts as accidents of the mind. But nothing is random. Every emotion that arises within you has a purpose. Every thought carries a vibration, and every action ripples through your inner and outer world. What you feel is energy seeking direction. Anger, sadness, excitement, love. Each is raw energy waiting for you to give it meaning. You can either allow it to control you, or you can guide it consciously. This is the difference between living reactively and living with awareness. When anger arises, for instance, it can destroy or it can awaken. If you let it dominate you, it blinds your reason and burns bridges. But if you pause, breathe, and observe it, you realize that beneath anger lies power. A force that can be transformed into strength, focus, and clarity. Similarly, fear can either imprison you or sharpen your awareness. It can paralyze your body or prepare you for growth. The transformation of energy begins with how you interpret it. Every emotional wave is a message from within, asking you to listen, to redirect, to refine. Pain, too, is energy. Many people try to run away from it, to suppress or deny it. But pain is a signal. It shows that something within you wants to change. When you accept it instead of avoiding it, pain becomes a teacher. It reveals where your energy has been blocked or misused. Healing is not the removal of pain. It is the transformation of pain into wisdom. The energy that once caused suffering becomes the light that guides you forward. Every scar you carry is proof of this transformation. Energy that once broke you now strengthens you. The human body is a perfect example of this continuous transformation. You eat food, and your body converts it into energy that fuels your life. You breathe in oxygen, and your cells transform it into vitality. The same process happens in the mind and spirit. The thoughts you feed your mind become the energy that shapes your reality. Negative thoughts drain you, while positive and balanced ones renew you. This is why awareness is essential. Because where your attention goes, your energy flows. If you constantly focus on fear, anger, or doubt, those energies expand within you. But if you direct your awareness toward peace, gratitude, and growth, those qualities multiply. Your energy does not lie. You can feel when it is heavy or light, chaotic or calm. The people around you can feel it too. Without saying a word, your presence can inspire or disturb, uplift or drain. That is why mastering your energy is not only a personal practice. It is an act of service to the world. A calm mind radiates calmness. A chaotic mind spreads unrest. You become a transmitter of the energy you cultivate. Every room you walk into feels your inner state, whether you realize it or not. To transform energy consciously, you must first observe it without judgment. When a strong emotion appears, do not label it as good or bad. See it as movement, as a river passing through you. The moment you identify with it, you become trapped in its current. But when you step back and watch it flow, you begin to understand it. You can then redirect that energy toward creation instead of destruction. Meditation, mindful breathing, and movement practices all exist to help you refine your energy, to turn raw emotion into clear awareness. There will be times when energy feels overwhelming, when your thoughts race, emotions surge, or restlessness fills your body. In such moments, the secret is grounding. Return to your breath, to the rhythm of your heartbeat, to the stillness beneath all motion. This reconnects you to the source of energy itself, the infinite flow of life. When you connect to that source, you realize that you don't need to control energy. You only need to align with it. Control creates resistance, but alignment creates harmony. Every interaction in your life is also an exchange of energy. When you speak, you give energy. When you listen deeply, you receive it. When you judge, you block it. When you forgive, you release it. The way you treat others and yourself determines whether your energy expands or contracts. That is why compassion and patience are not just moral virtues. They are energetic practices. They keep your energy pure and balanced. Resentment, jealousy, or arrogance cloud your flow, while gratitude and humility keep it clear and radiant. The beauty of this truth, that energy transforms continuously, is that it means nothing is ever wasted. Even your worst mistakes, your darkest emotions, or your deepest fears can be turned into something meaningful. Energy cannot be destroyed, it can only evolve. The tears you shed water the soil of future strength. The chaos you endure becomes the foundation of inner peace. What once felt like suffering becomes the very source of your wisdom. So learn to work with energy, not against it. Feel deeply, but do not drown. Act boldly, but do not force. Speak truthfully, but without harm. Live as if everything you touch carries vibration. Because it does. Every word, thought, and movement either elevates or diminishes your energy. The mastery of life lies in knowing this, feeling this, and living in harmony with it. Energy transforms continuously. And when you align yourself with that truth, you stop chasing peace. You become peace. You stop searching for power. You become power. You stop fearing change because you realize you are change. You are not separate from the flow of life. You are its expression. And once you truly feel that, every moment becomes sacred. Every breath, every challenge, every heartbeat. A reminder that you are both the transformer and the transformed. Embrace the temporary course. This truth carries a depth that most people overlook in their rush through life. Everything you experience, everything you hold, everything you lose is temporary. The joy that fills your heart, the pain that weighs on your chest, the people you meet, the situations you face. None of it lasts forever. Yet this impermanence is not something to fear. It is what gives life its beauty. Without the fleeting nature of moments, there would be no meaning, no growth, and no gratitude. When you embrace the temporary course of life, you stop clinging to what must go and begin to see the wisdom in each passing moment. Life moves like a river. You can try to hold the water in your hands, but it will always slip through your fingers. The river does not mourn what it leaves behind. It flows forward, trusting that every bend, every turn, has its purpose. In the same way, your journey is constantly moving. The people you meet, the roles you play, and the experiences you encounter, all are chapters in a story that is always being written. The mistake we make is thinking one chapter should last forever. We attach our happiness to things, people, and situations that cannot stay. And when they change, we suffer. But the suffering does not come from loss. It comes from our refusal to accept that nothing here is meant to stay. The temporary nature of life is not a curse. It is a teacher. Every moment invites you to be present. When you know something will not last, you begin to appreciate it more deeply. You listen more carefully, love more openly, and live more fully. The flower that blooms today will fade tomorrow, yet its beauty is complete in its short existence. The sunset that vanishes in minutes leaves behind a memory that nourishes the soul. Likewise, every phase of your life, no matter how brief, carries a unique purpose. When you learn to see impermanence as natural, you begin to live without fear of endings. People often struggle because they try to control life's flow. They want relationships to last forever, success to never fade, youth to never age. But the nature of life is movement. You cannot freeze time. You can only learn to move gracefully with it. When you resist the temporary, you become stuck. You live in constant tension, wishing for what was or fearing what will come. But when you embrace it, peace emerges. You understand that what leaves creates space for what must arrive. The end of one season is not death. It is the beginning of another. There are moments in life when things fall apart, when what you thought was permanent suddenly disappears. A friendship fades, a job ends, a dream dissolves. In those moments, it is easy to believe that life has betrayed you. But if you look deeper, you'll see that life is not taking something from you. It is guiding you to your next stage of evolution. The loss is not punishment, but preparation. When something leaves, it means its lesson has been fulfilled. You are ready to move forward, even if your mind has not yet realized it. To embrace the temporary course is also to release attachment. Attachment is not love, it is fear disguised as care. It is the desire to possess what cannot be possessed. true love, true peace, and true freedom come only when you can experience something fully without needing to hold it forever. The people you love, you must allow to grow. The moments you cherish, you must allow to pass. When you release the need to control, you begin to see that nothing truly leaves. It only changes form. The laughter shared becomes memory. The connection becomes wisdom. The presence becomes energy that still lives within you. The mind likes to cling because it seeks security. It fears change because change reminds it of its own impermanence. But the soul knows better. The soul is vast and timeless. It understands that nothing is ever lost, only transformed. When one door closes, another is already opening, even if your eyes cannot yet see it. The temporary course is the universe's way of ensuring that you never stagnate. It keeps you moving, learning, expanding, and awakening to deeper layers of yourself. Even the difficult times, the pain, confusion, and uncertainty are temporary. When you are in the middle of hardship, it feels eternal. You think it will never end, but it always does. Every storm passes. Every night gives way to dawn. The lesson is to trust the process, even when you cannot see the outcome. Do not curse the temporary. Instead, let it remind you that no pain lasts forever and no joy should be taken for granted. This is how balance is created, by remembering that all things rise and fall. When you start to live with this awareness, your perspective on life changes completely. You stop chasing and start observing. You stop demanding permanence and start cherishing presence. You begin to live from moment to moment, not out of fear of losing, but out of gratitude for having. Each morning becomes a gift, each smile becomes sacred, and even each goodbye becomes a gentle bow to the impermanent nature of life. To embrace the temporary course is not to detach from life. It is to engage with it more deeply. It means being fully alive in each experience while knowing it will pass. It means loving without conditions, giving without expecting return, and walking forward without fear. This understanding turns suffering into serenity. You no longer need to control the flow, you become part of it. Everything changes. The seasons, the body, the heart, the world. But something within you remains untouched: awareness. That awareness watches every rise and fall, every coming and going, every joy and sorrow. When you rest in that awareness, you are no longer disturbed by change. You become the calm in the middle of the storm. And that is the true power of embracing the temporary course, not escaping impermanence, but awakening through it. Life is fleeting, yes, but it is also infinitely precious. Each moment, no matter how brief, carries eternity within it when lived consciously. So do not fear endings, do not cling to beginnings, flow with life as it moves, love deeply, let go gracefully, and trust that every ending only prepares the path for something beautiful to begin again. Ego takes control. 3 simple words that describe one of the most silent yet powerful forces shaping human life. The ego is not something evil, it is part of you. It is the voice that says, "This is who I am." It gives you identity, direction, and the sense of being separate from others. But when the ego takes control, it blinds you from truth. It makes you forget your connection to everything and convinces you that you are alone, superior, or unworthy. It turns awareness into comparison, peace into competition, and love into attachment. To live with peace and clarity, one must learn to see the ego clearly, not as an enemy to destroy, but as a shadow to understand. The ego is built from stories. Stories about who you think you are and how you believe others see you. These stories come from your past, what people told you, what you achieved, what you failed at, how you were treated. Slowly, These experiences form an image in your mind, and you begin to identify with that image more than your true self. You start to say, I am this job, I am this success, I am this body, I am this name. The moment you identify with those labels, the ego takes control. Because then your worth becomes dependent on external things. The praise you receive, the attention you get, the victories you collect. The problem begins when life no longer feeds the ego in the way it desires. When someone criticizes you, when you lose something you value, when you feel ignored, the ego feels attacked. It reacts with anger, jealousy, or sadness, defending the illusion of identity it has built. But the truth is, you are not that illusion. You are the awareness that observes all of it, the calm witness behind the emotions and thoughts. The ego lives in fear because it knows its existence depends on others' opinions and outer circumstances. Awareness, on the other hand, is fearless because it is not built on anything temporary. When ego takes control, you stop seeing life as it is and start seeing it through the filter of men and mine. Every situation becomes personal. You cannot listen without defending, cannot love without expecting, cannot act without calculating. The ego always asks, what do I get from this? It turns even the most spiritual goals into self-centered pursuits. You meditate to be better than others. You help others to be admired. You chase peace to feel superior. The ego hides behind masks of kindness, wisdom, and strength, but its real motive is always self-importance. To free yourself from this control, you must learn to observe your ego in action. Every time you feel offended, ask yourself, who is offended? Every time you feel the need to prove something, ask, who needs validation? You will see that it is not your true self that reacts. It is your ego. This simple act of awareness weakens its power. Because the ego thrives in unconsciousness, it survives only when you don't notice it. The moment you become aware of it, it starts to dissolve. Awareness is light, and ego is shadow. The two cannot exist in the same space. When ego rules, relationships suffer. Because ego always seeks to win. It cannot truly listen, forgive, or compromise. It sees others not as reflections, but as rivals or tools. It either wants to control or to be controlled, to dominate or to depend. Love becomes conditional. I love you if you make me feel good, if you agree with me, if you don't challenge my image. True love cannot exist in such conditions. Real love is born only in the absence of ego, when you stop needing to be right and simply allow others to be as they are. The ego also feeds on comparison. It constantly measures itself, richer or poorer, smarter or dumber, stronger or weaker. It can never rest, because there is always someone else to compare to. This endless measuring keeps the mind in conflict. But once you realize that everyone is walking their own path, that no journey is the same, comparison loses its meaning. The flower does not compete with the tree. The moon does not envy the sun. Each expresses its own nature fully, and that is enough. When you see yourself in this way, you free yourself from the ego's trap of better and worse. Or ego's deepest fear is losing control. It wants to plan, possess, and predict everything. It resists uncertainty because uncertainty reminds it that it is not in charge. But life cannot be controlled. It can only be experienced. The more the ego tries to grasp, the more life slips away. Letting go of ego means learning to trust the flow, to surrender to what is, without needing to always be right or recognized. This surrender is not weakness, it is strength. It takes courage to release control and live from awareness rather than image. As you grow in consciousness, you begin to notice that the moments of real peace and clarity come when the ego is silent. when you are completely absorbed in the present moment. Whether you are listening to music, watching the sky, or helping someone selflessly, there are moments when you disappear and only the experience remains. In those moments, the ego is not there, and yet you feel more alive than ever. That is the paradox: you lose yourself, and yet you find yourself. Ego takes control again and again, but with practice, you catch it faster each time. You start to smile when you see it arise. Ah, there you are again. You no longer need to fight it, because fighting the ego is also the ego. You simply see it, and in that seeing it weakens. Slowly, life becomes less about proving and more about being. Less about winning and more about understanding. Less about separation and more about unity. The goal is not to destroy the ego, because it has a function. It helps you navigate the physical world. But it must serve, not rule. When it serves awareness, life becomes harmonious. When it rules awareness, life becomes chaotic. The key is balance. To use the ego as a tool while staying rooted in your true self. When you realize that the ego's voice is not your own, you begin to wake up. You start to live with authenticity, humility, and compassion. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop chasing validation and start expressing truth. In that state, peace arises naturally, because nothing can truly threaten who you are. You are no longer the mask. You are the awareness behind it. And once you see that clearly, the ego no longer takes control. It becomes a servant of something far greater, consciousness itself. Enlightenment through consistency. These words carry the quiet power that defines true transformation. Most people chase quick results, dramatic awakenings, or sudden clarity, believing that change must arrive like lightning. But life, like nature, rarely moves in explosions. It unfolds in rhythm. Enlightenment does not come from a single act of brilliance or a weekend of effort. It grows from small, steady, and deliberate actions that are repeated with presence. It is not the intensity of what you do once that shapes you. It is the consistency of what you do every day. The human mind loves excitement. It wants to skip the process and reach the peak. But mountains are not climbed by leaps. They are conquered step by step, breath by breath. In the same way, the path to peace, clarity, and inner mastery is walked through simple, daily practices. You cannot expect your mind to be calm if you only seek stillness once in a while. You cannot expect to be centered if you only reflect when life becomes chaotic. Consistency is the bridge between desire and realization, between knowing and being. Without it, everything remains theory. Imagine water dripping on stone. One drop does nothing. 2 drops still leave no mark. But 1,000, 1,000,000, over time, carve a path through solid rock. That is the power of consistency. It may look small, but it is unstoppable. The same is true for the human spirit. Every time you meditate, breathe consciously, speak kindly, or choose awareness over reaction, you are reshaping your mind. You may not see the result immediately, but transformation is happening quietly beneath the surface. True progress is not visible day to day. It reveals itself over time when you realize how much calmer, stronger, and wiser you have become. The challenge of consistency is that it demands patience. And patience is rare in a world that glorifies speed. People give up when they don't see instant results. They start strong, but lose motivation when the excitement fades. Yet the real test of discipline is not in how passionately you begin, but in how faithfully you continue when no one is watching, when results are slow, when motivation is gone. Those who understand this truth stop depending on feelings. They act out of commitment. Feelings change, discipline remains. Consistency is also the foundation of balance. When your habits are steady, your mind becomes stable. You no longer swing between extremes, one day inspired, the next lost, one moment peaceful, the next restless. The rhythm of practice grounds you. It becomes your anchor in the storm. Whether you are joyful or sad, confident or afraid, you keep showing up. You sit in stillness, you move with awareness, you breathe, you reflect. In doing so, you build an unshakable core that no external change can disturb. There is great misunderstanding about enlightenment. Many think it is a moment of divine revelation, something mystical that happens suddenly. But enlightenment is not a place you reach, it is a state you maintain. It is the ability to stay aware, present, and compassionate in every situation. And that ability does not come by accident. It is built through repetition. Just as a musician trains daily to master their instrument, you must train your mind daily to remain awake. Enlightenment is not found at the end of the path, it is discovered in every step you take with awareness. Consistency also reveals the truth about intention. When you do something once, it might be impulse. When you do it repeatedly, it becomes who you are. Repetition strengthens identity. If you repeatedly choose patience, you become calm. If you repeatedly choose gratitude, you become joyful. If you repeatedly choose awareness, you become free. This is why even the smallest habit matters. What you do every day, even in silence, is a declaration of who you are becoming. The path will not always be smooth. There will be days when the mind resists, when discipline feels heavy, when progress seems invisible. In those moments, the ego whispers that it is useless, that you should stop. But that is exactly when you must continue. Because every time you continue despite resistance, you weaken the grip of that inner voice. You show your mind that you are in control, not your impulses. And that is how inner freedom is built. Not through grand victories, but through quiet persistence. Consistency requires awareness of time. Every moment you live is an opportunity to strengthen your practice. You don't need perfect conditions, you need presence. You can practice awareness while walking, eating, or speaking. You can practice compassion in your relationships, patience in your struggles, discipline in your routines. The point is not to add more to your life, but to live what you already do more consciously. Consistency is not about quantity. It is about quality of attention. What makes consistency powerful is that it aligns the inner and outer worlds. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to move in harmony. When your practice is steady, your energy flows smoothly. Your words match your intentions, and your behavior reflects your values. You stop living in contradiction. You become whole. This inner alignment is the beginning of enlightenment. Not something far away, but something expressed in every mindful moment. Eventually, consistency becomes effortless. What was once practice turns into nature. You no longer have to remind yourself to breathe calmly or act kindly. It becomes your default state. You live in awareness naturally. This is the fruit of persistence. To reach a point where effort turns into ease. The river no longer struggles to flow. It simply follows its course. In the same way, a consistent practice leads you to a state where peace, clarity, and compassion are not goals, but expressions of your being. Enlightenment through consistency means realizing that every small act matters. The way you speak, how you wake, how you treat others, how you think. Each is a step toward or away from awareness. You do not need extraordinary effort. You need ordinary effort done with extraordinary regularity. The miracle is not in the act itself, but in the unwavering repetition of it. So be patient with your journey. Do not rush awakening. Build your peace drop by drop, breath by breath, day by day. Even when it feels slow, Even when no one sees your effort, continue. Because the quiet discipline you keep today becomes the wisdom you embody tomorrow. And one day, without realizing it, you will look back and see that through your consistency, you have become what you once sought, aware, grounded, and free. That is enlightenment, not a flash of light, but a steady flame that never fades.